Okay, welcome to today's video. Sorry, it's not going to be the most exciting one, but it's a very important video, so please don't skip this. Stick around, watch it. It's really important. And watch the whole thing, because I'm going to show a bunch of stuff. But today we're going to talk about flux and the importance of cleaning flux off the board. I recently did a YouTube short on it, just kind of quickly going over it. But I feel like it's an important topic that I should do an entire video talking about the importance of not using cheap flux and the importance of cleaning flux off the board. So to sum it up real quick, the too long didn't read of this whole video is clean off the flux or else it's going to ruin your circuit board. And even if you use really high quality flux that's not going to completely ruin the circuit board, it's unprofessional. Just clean it up. But let's get into the actual video now. I have 3 circuit boards we're going to take a look at, and I probably have a couple of other little demonstrations I'm going to do in here. So yeah, let's get a look at these circuit boards that are sitting in front of me. Probably have to bust out the microscope to really get it in detail for you guys, but I'm going to start with just the camera so that way we get the overview, and we'll see how good of a view we get with that. Okay, so first let's focus on this one. Now this one has a high quality flux on it that's not going to ruin your circuit board, and it's been on here for over a year. So this is best case scenario of what you get if you do not, clean up your flux. This is the absolute best case you get. It just looks like crap. So if you have large amounts of it, it starts to crack and crystallize, and it's actually pretty hard to clean off. And you see you have a whole layer of it here. You can scrape at it. It just dries off and just becomes very unprofessional looking. And yeah, this is one of my first parts boards. So this is mine, and yes, I left flux all over it, but that's because it's a parts board that I'm never going to fix again. So I don't really care about it. But if I was using cheap flux, I'd still want to clean it up because I want these other parts to be salvageable off of here, and they will eventually become not salvageable. So yeah, that's your first circuit board to get a look at. This is your best case scenario leaving flux on the board. It just looks completely unprofessional. No one would be happy with your service if you gave them this back at all. I can't think of anyone that would be happy with that. So let's put this one up next. So this one right here gives you a good idea of what happens if you use cheap flux on it. So, this one I've robbed some parts off of, so you can see, again, I left some high quality flux right here. But the reason why this one became a parts board before that is they probably used like a plumber's flux that's acid based, and it's just eaten away at not only the copper, but it's eaten away at the solder mask, and you can just pick the solder mask off of here and get at the copper even more. So this one is ruined, but it's not actually ruined the way the one below it's ruined. So this one, almost every single one of these resistors does not conduct at all anymore. So the flux has eaten away all of the metal that's on here, and you just have ceramic left and then a little bit of solder on the bottom that does it. And so the way these resistors are, the bottom of it's just ceramic, and then there's a little bit of metal at the bottom, and it kind of it's like a C channel of metal going across there. So all right, so the metal looks kind of like this. So this is your resistor. We're looking at a side profile of it here. And then so this would be the top and this would be the bottom. And so you have metal, and then on top there's like a film, that's the resistive film on there. And then you have that channel again, and the channel really goes up to the top of it. So that's kind of inaccurate there. But that's kind of the side profile of it. This is gonna solder down to your circuit board, and this is just the conductor here, and then this is the actual resistor here, and this is just ceramic on the bottom. So if you eat away all this metal right here and it's all gone, that resistor is now useless. And that is Every single resistor on this circuit board is like that. So all of these are like that, and all of these over here are like that. And so it's just, this is not economically feasible to fix. And even if it was, I still wouldn't fix it because the solder mask is being eaten away at this board too. So this whole thing has just become junk. It's a parts board now, and there's not a lot of salvageable parts off of it. This one is really just waiting on me to recycle it. So yeah, it's not even a parts board because the legs of the microcontroller, a couple of them are eaten away in the resistors. Well, I'm going to get out the microscope and I'm just going to edit that in and just kind of overview it. I'm not going to talk at all on the microscope. You're just going to get to see that for just a second, go over it. All right, so this is the last circuit board that I'm going to show on this. So this one is the one that I just did the YouTube short on that said clean up your flux. And so this one not only had flux on it, but it actually had solder paste on it too. There was a lot of solder paste up in here. You could see the little balls from that under the microscope. There, it's gone. I've cleaned it off because I tried to save this board. So this one had corroded this chip up really bad. So this right here drives the VFD for the park reverse neutral. That's what's going on underneath here. But yeah, that one was eaten up really bad. But on top of that, the problem that this had is the vias have been eaten up. So what I put a new microcontroller on here because I was pretty sure. So what I thought had happened was some of those balls from the solder paste had just rolled down and killed the microcontroller. I thought it was a bad microcontroller, so I replaced the microcontroller on it. I replaced it with a known good one, and then when I put it on there, it didn't work. It was like a known good, already programmed one, and I was like, oh, maybe I mixed them up, and this isn't the known good one. But I was like, before I do that, I took off everything. So I took off both of the stepper drivers off here. I took off. I had taken off the EEPROM, the voltage regulator, like I had cleared this board off other than the microcontroller, seeing where the problem was, and I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I put a bad microcontroller on there, so I swapped it again and put another one on there that was from my pile of blank ones that were brand new, put a new one on there, and still nothing out of it. Well, I mean, I was able to program it, and once I programmed it, I still didn't have anything working on there. So I realized while I was programming it, though, I got a good hint to what the problem was while I was programming it. So it had an intermittent where it was dropping out the 5 volts. 5 volts would go dead on it. So I was like, oh, cool, it's just this weird power issue. Let me just trace down this power issue and fix it. So I traced that down. What was causing that was the regulator was not getting the 12 volts to it because this via right here and this via right here just would intermittently just quit conducting. It was so corroded inside the via that it would just quit conducting. So I ran a jumper. So my original goal was I said, okay, I could tell for a fact this one wasn't working because if I put the multimeter here and then came to the test point there, it was not, you know, it wasn't getting any voltage, because after I tried to program it and had it running for a really long time, it got hot enough that it just quit conducting altogether. So yeah, I tested that and was like, oh, cool, I'll just run a jumper there. So I just drilled through the via, ran the jumper there, and then still wasn't conducting here. So I was like, oh, I guess the other via is not conducting too. So I came back up. Instead of going the short path around, I just came up and came back up. Because at that point, I decided there was a good chance I was never actually fixing this circuit board. Once I got to this point, I was like, you know, this is probably not going to get fixed. But I was determined to learn. I wanted to know what the heck was going on with this. So I kind of kept powering through even after. Once I saw this, I was pretty confident. I knew that there were other vias that are just not conducting anymore, and that's just causing it to not work. And that is what's wrong with this one. And there's I haven't counted them, but it looks like there's over 100 vias on one of these circuit boards like this. So this is just not repairable, you know. I would have to test every single via, and with some of them being intermittent, like this was originally intermittent, how am I to know if the next one's not going to fail? So yeah, this board, not repairable, not even worth trying to repair. So that really sums up your importance of cleaning up your flux. You know, it's important to use high quality flux, and it's important to clean it up. And I got a demonstration for you. So I'm going to use this circuit board as the example. Again, I'm going to have to use the microscope to show this, but I'm going to show you what happens if you were to leave water washable liquid flux on a circuit board and then give it electricity. So if you know anything about this, you know what'll happen. But yeah, you have to clean this off before you use it. And I'll show you why. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed the demonstration on the Chip Quick water washable flux there. Also, what I was using to do that was a DC power supply. It was at 14.3 volts, and it would pull about 1/10 of an amp through that. So not a lot of current would pass, but it still conducts, and it is enough to damage a microcontroller. I actually have killed a STM32 with that. I just forgot. I forgot what I was doing. I soldered it down, then I went and took a break, and I came back to finish it up. And I forgot to clean up the water washable flux on there and killed the microcontroller. I actually do not care for this water washable flux for two reasons. One, it's conductive, and two, so it evaporates while you're soldering, and that pulls a lot of heat out of the soldering iron, and so I don't care for it because of that. It does work good. It's very convenient to just be able to rinse it off and be done. It's just not very convenient in the fact that it conducts and that it wicks away so much heat from your soldering iron. So the next point I want to bring up is how to clean up your regular fluxes. All that you need is isopropyl alcohol. That's really all you need. Please do not use acetone to do it, because that can damage your PCB. MG Chemicals flux remover works good too. I like this because it's easy to get your hands on online and know what you're getting. Instead of some of those like Amazon isopropyl alcohols, they'll claim to be 99% and they behave like 70%. So yeah, I like my my just MG Chemicals because I know what I'm getting. This stuff works good too. It is flux cleaner in a can, spray can. These are from the 90s. Somebody gave them to me. They had them left over in their shed, and they were like, do you want them? And I was like, sure. They work good, and surprisingly still have propellant in them with as old as they are. But yeah, these are expensive though in comparison to the other two, so I don't recommend these that much just because of the price of them. Also, they splash everywhere when you're spraying it on the board. The other thing, you don't need to bathe it in it. You just use one of these foam tip things, dip it in there, and that's more than enough to clean it off. You really don't need to bathe it. A lot of times in my videos, I'm in a rush, so you'll see me just pour it on there because I don't want to have to, like, you know, go find one of these tips and do that. And I'll just pour it on there and use a toothbrush. You just use this, get it nice and wet with it, and then take your toothbrush, scrub it, and you're done. You need to wipe it down, then you're done. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process. So yeah, it's not too complicated. Just focus on making sure that you use high quality flux. Don't use the cheap stuff. I know I've been using some cheap, it was like Relife or something like that, or Rev Life. Somebody gave it to me for free to test out. Somebody I trusted, so I was comfortable enough to actually use it, but I still was not comfortable enough to leave any of it on the circuit board. I made sure to clean that stuff off really good, just because I'd never heard of them. It did work okay, but I'm not sold on it. You know, I can buy my Chip Quick Flux from Mauser for like $12 or $14 for it, and it lasts me a couple of months. So, you know, hey, that's a fair price in my opinion. I much rather pay a semi-premium price for something I know I can trust and won't ruin my circuit boards versus, you know, gambling on something a little cheaper and kind of cutting a corner there. I personally just don't like that, which is why I don't use Amtech Flux. It's not because I have any problem with Amtech Flux. It's just there's so many counterfeit fluxes out there of Amtech that I have a hard time trusting it, buying it anywhere. Even if it's a reputable vendor, I tend to just be reluctant to buy it because of my mindset that they're all counterfeit, even though I know those reputable vendors have genuine Amtech. I'm just so uncomfortable with it. So that's why I use Chip Quick. It's not because I think Chip Quick works better than Amtech. I do prefer Chip Quick over Amtech because it's a little more, it's clear, so I can see through it better than I can with Amtech. But other than that, they perform the same in my opinion. I just don't buy Amtech because I don't trust anyone to have genuine Amtech. It's so commonly counterfeited is really what I'm getting at there. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you haven't seen my YouTube short on that, it was on that other circuit board that I was showing you earlier. And another thing that I want to point out is that circuit board was worked on by an eBay vendor. I'm not going to name them. I asked the customer who gave it to them to name them in the video, but I don't know for a fact that eBay vendor was the last person to touch the board, and that eBay vendor had really good reviews and had a lot of reviews on them. So I'm reluctant to name names on that one just because, I don't know, the person had really good reviews and a lot of really good reviews, and so it's kind of like maybe this was a fluke, maybe he wasn't the last person to touch it. I don't know, maybe this is one of the first ones he ever did, and he's improved since then. So I decided not to name the name in this video, but if you're a member of the Facebook group, you will know who it is because I did ask if people knew him, and there were people that knew him and said that he had done work for them in the past. So it gave me a little more reassurance that this is not the norm to come out of his shop, and that it may not have even been him to be the last person to touch it. So I didn't have the warm and fuzzy about naming names on this video, so I did not. But thank you for watching. Check out the Facebook group if you're not a member. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.